special someone is my dearest cousin Chaitanya. For me, Che is a classic chocolate cake. This dessert not only describes his personality, but is one of his favorite desserts to eat. Let's first make this delicious dessert and we'll come to the comparison after that. Our first step is to melt butter and chocolate over a bain-marie or a double boiler. Make sure that the water doesn't boil vigorously and that it doesn't touch the base of the glass bowl. While the chocolate is gently melting, let's prep our other ingredients. Next, we're going to sieve in our dry ingredients. We're going to first do the flour, the cocoa powder, make it extra chocolatey, baking powder, baking soda, and salt. Once the chocolate's melted, you can remove it from the bain-marie and leave it aside to cool until we make the rest of the batter. In a large bowl, I'm going to whisk in my eggs. To that, I'm going to add some sour cream. If you don't have sour cream, you can use plain yogurt. This sour cream is going to make the chocolate cake more fudgy than it already is. To that, I'm going to add some vegetable oil. You can use sunflower or any other flavorless oil. Next, I'm going to add the vanilla. And then I'm going to whisk in some brewed coffee. Coffee intensifies the flavor of the chocolate. So don't worry, the cake is not going to taste like coffee, but it's definitely worth adding it. Once I've whisked everything, I'm going to add in the caster sugar. Next, we're going to add in our melted chocolate. Slowly but continuously whisk. Next, we're going to pour in all our dry ingredients. And gently fold. Try not to overmix the batter at this stage because you don't want your cakes to become dense. If you find that there are some lumps in your batter, which is okay, just take the whisk and gently beat the batter until all the lumps come out. Line your cake tins with parchment paper at the bottom and then grease the sides with butter and coat with flour. Once you're done making the batter, fill both the cake pans equally. Just level out your cakes so they bake evenly. Bake these in your oven, which is preheated to 174 degrees for about 30 minutes. Next, we're going to make the chocolate ganache so it has some time to rest and thicken up. For that, we're going to melt some butter and chocolate in the microwave for about 15-second intervals and stirring between each interval. Once the chocolate and butter have completely melted, slowly pour in the cream and whisk through. Leave this aside to cool and it thickens as it cools. Next, we're going to make the chocolate buttercream. For that, we're going to sieve the icing sugar. It's very important to sieve the icing sugar because it tends to have a lot of lumps. For the chocolate buttercream, we're first going to whisk in the butter, which has to be a little bit cold. Once your butter is pale, light and fluffy like this, it's time to add in our icing sugar. Add the icing sugar half at a time so that each half is going to be well incorporated. Add rest of the icing sugar and beat again. It's a chocolate buttercream after all, so now it's time to add in the chocolate. For the buttercream, I always use a 70% dark chocolate. I think that works best. I'm gonna add just 1 teaspoon of milk, so it'll make the buttercream a bit more soft. Okay, light, fluffy, and chocolatey. That's what you're looking for. Once everything is well incorporated, just clean your paddle attachment and do a final whisk with your hand and you're done. The cakes took 10 minutes longer to bake, and now I'm checking to see if they're done using the skewer test. I'm going to remove the cakes from their tins. Once the cakes are completely cooled, I level them. You can do that with a bread knife or with a cake leveler. After that, I turned it the other way around so that the surface is much flatter. And sometimes when you're cutting the cake, it's okay if a little bit of the cake breaks, because that's what frosting does. It fixes the cake. So now let's get frosting. Put a big dollop. Now we're going to take our cooled and thickened ganache and cover the entire cake. During this process, if you find some of the holes that were caused because of the cake breaking, you can fix it by the ganache. Decorate it however you want. I just like to swirl it a little bit like this on top. With the leftover icing, the ganache and the crumbs, I'm just going to do some simple decoration. I have some freeze-dried raspberries at home, so I'm using those for a bit of color. Just going to sprinkle some cake crumbs. And then maybe a zigzag of some caramel all around. Prim and proper, immaculately groomed and well put together. Chair is classy, like a classic chocolate cake. A good chocolate cake is not just about the aesthetics. It is rich, intensely chocolatey and indulgent. Chair looks the part of the quintessential good boy with a shy and quiet personality. However, there is a wild side reserved for a trusted few who are privileged to see him break out of his shell from time to time. Clear and decisive about what it wants, chocolate cake is unwavering and unconcerned about desserts around it. Doing things his way, Chair is a classic chocolate cake, a timeless classic that will stand the test of time.